As we are shortly expecting day 2 of testimony from Fed Chair Warsh. The Senate committee advances BLS nominee Matsumoto to the floor vote.
Hello. I don't know how much talking I'm going to be doing today. I am still recovering. We filled gap on on NQ from our battle line that we posted last night. Held that as our resistance, rotated down to our floor, and we hit our full gap fill as shown on chart. Gap fill, full target. We did a half gap on ES. Bounced our ceiling here, which is basically just our top of value, and are now retesting our developing POC. If we can flip this, we have potential for continuation. We're watching to see if price can push above and hold, or this is going to fail, look back below, and then rotate down. NQ, again, gap fills played out. Need to show interest above for anything more, or this is just going to reject here, and that'll be the top. So I guess we'll see you soon. I'm a bit better, but I'm still pretty sick. But I can at least talk a little bit now. See if we can flip this on ES. Big deal. Yeah, so if you're playing the first 30 minutes of the day, I mean, really the only trade is the gap fill, right? So if you weren't targeting that and you were taking trades for the first 30 minutes, I don't know what to tell you other than you need to have a plan. By far, very, very clear action, push back down to that and immediate bounces. It's about all you can do in the morning. So we'll see what happens now. Again, NQ can head up to our battle line up here at our 55. But we have to flip that for that to be bullish at all, or this is just a retracement from our gap and then a potential lower high here. We're not sure yet. We need to see ES show interest above. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. Got 20 minutes until IB is open, and then that'll give us another opportunity. But your first 30 minutes is always going to be playing around the gap and yesterday's value. And then after that, it'll be playing off of the first hour's value. Right, the balance that we've created on the day. To me, ES is just balanced between this 23 and this 600. If we can show interest above, then we can head up to 35, but seeing it is believing it. ES just looks so much better than NQ. It's crazy. Just held such a better pivot on ES. Very clear failed breakdown from previous day low. Popped it. Got a really nice bid at our developing POC. Previous day POC, trying to hold a supportive. I don't know, it just looks so much better than than NQ. NQ still in like this very clear downtrend at our pivot.
Axios reporter on X, citing a senior US official, says the talks between the US, Israel, and Lebanon have concluded after 2 days of fruitful and positive discussions in Rome. We have agreed on the structure and guidelines of the regional pilot process, which will be finalized and implemented in the coming days. We will now move to expanded technical talks, which will focus on implementing all areas of the framework agreement with the aim of reaching a comprehensive agreement between Israel and Lebanon. So again, this is an Axios reporter on X, citing a senior US official.
You just see
So
like
keep in mind,
very
Fed
clear
Chairman
bids
Walsh
above
currently
here on
repeating
ES.
his testimony statement to the Senate committee now.
Any look above this and failure and pushback below will result in a full rotation back down off of a failure to establish above our opening high. Super important that we see a active bid step up here, or again, this will just create offside liquidity, and then we'll look for the look above and fail, and the rotation back below, like 17, and then rotation through. So as long as this is holding, we can look for upside up to 35. But if this does fail up here and we can't sustain, I suspect that we will look for that offer below this bid and then look for the rotation back down and keep diverging. Yeah, I have to see it first before you can just create that as a setup. Right now, it's just an active bid. You need to see a very clear offer below, a secondary seller step in, an active seller step, push through. Lots needs to happen for that to play out.
In 10 minutes time now, at the bottom of the hour, we see the release of the weekly EIA inventories numbers. Crude oil inventories, the forecast is a draw of 1.824 million on the prior build of 2.998 million. The range sees a build of 2 million to a draw of 3.648 million expected. Gasoline inventories forecast a draw of 2 million on the prior draw of 1.904 million, and distillate inventories forecast a draw of 1.85 million on the prior draw of 4.98 million. Crude Cushing inventories, the prior was a draw of 0.052 million.
I'm going to exit my first NQ here following our pathing off of our failure, pushing into our look below and fail area. This is our floor of our value on NQ. It's my first risk off here. If we can hold below 26s, then we can look for some continuation. Until then, this is where we should expect some bids to be. We'll watch to see what happens here. Either a look below, failure, and then pop back above 55s for the bid for push back up, or a failure and hold below our 26s for continuation down to 660. No move on ES. No acceptance above, no acceptance below yet. Just chop at our pivot. I have 5 MNQ left. I've taken off 15. See if we get a solid reoffer here for ES as NQ retests our look below and fail at 720. Push down is to our
Fed's Wall says, I
656.
think any new leader should tap the best minds they can find. So that's Fed Chairman Walsh currently answering questions from the Senate panel.
Out a bit
Again, we do
more.
have the live video on the feed and the calendar for those interested.
Pushing into our secondary targets here. This is our downside target 1 at 639. See if we get more or if we'll get a retest. No follow through on ES. No retest, sorry. Just sweep through. Pushing back down to our lows. No change. It would have to
So we are
get
seeing a leg
below
down in the
600
S&P
for anything more.
500, pairing earlier gains. We're still up 0.2%.
This is Russell and the VWAP. I expect bids across the board here. And then hopefully that gives us a reoffer from our target on NQ.
Fed's Williams says the move up in the medium-term inflation expectations in the New York Fed survey is not flashing a warning sign, says forward guidance is not appropriate at this point, and that the FOMC are to keep giving perspectives on the economy. So this is Fed's Williams speaking to reporters following his speech in New York. Brings us now 5 minutes away from the bottom of the hour, where we're expecting the weekly EIA inventories data. Fed's Chair Walsh first says the recent inflation data is an imperfect gauge of underlying inflation. Any central bank is happy when data goes in the right direction, though. So again, that's Fed's Walsh saying that my view is that these inflation data metrics are an imperfect measures. Again, less than 5 minutes now to the bottom of the hour, where we get the weekly inventories numbers. Crude oil inventories forecast a draw of 1.824 million on the prior build of 2.998 million. The range sees a build of 2 million to a draw of 3.648 million. Gasoline inventories forecast a draw of 2 million on the prior draw of 1.904 million. Distillate inventories forecast a draw of 2 million on the prior draw of 4.98 million, and crude Cushing inventories, the prior was a draw of 0.052 million.
They're trying to take in
Keep in
size at
mind, yesterday we saw the
670.
release of the
I think we
private
go up
API
higher,
stock change
but we'll
numbers.
see.
Crude oil saw a draw of 0.564 million, which was compared to the expected draw of 2.7 million.
I think Russell needs to pop a bit, and ES needs to test like 612, 614.
Fed's Walsh says, in the near term, I think that AI investment is good for jobs.
Me watching like 700, 710 area as we push into that on NQ, see if they absorb here. Big buyer trying to step in at 690. Watching to see if they'll put in like a lower high here. My stop sitting at 25.75 break even on my runners. Big bid with Russell popping off of that VWAP. This is our test that we were looking for at our 14s on ES. NQ coming up into that 710. Let's see what they do.
Fed's Walsh says, in the long term, I believe AI will help wages and employment. Walsh says, in between, though, AI will cause disruption. One minute remaining. I'll lead with the EIA crude oil inventories.
I'm stopped on runners there. Watching for our retest.
10 seconds.
New 15s.
A draw of 1.692 million. That's a draw of 1.692 million compared to the expected draw of 1.824 million. Gasoline inventories, a draw of 1.533 million. A draw of 1.533 million, higher than the expected draw of 2 million. Distillate inventories, a build of 4.556 million. That's a build of 4.556 million compared to the expected draw of 1.85 million. And crude Cushing inventories, a build of 0.43 million, a build of 0.43 million.
All right, let's see how we interact now that we're back to our pivots. Do we hold the look below? Or can we flip and bid?
We have posted the US EIA weekly petroleum status report on the feed for those interested. The Department of Energy note the US SPR draw 2.985 million, now at 316.504 million barrels. Iran's top negotiator Galabaf is to release a statement on the war and recent events.
Holding so far.
And so in a statement, Iran's parliamentary speaker Galabaf says in a few hours he's going to release a statement on the war and recent events. The information
Taking
reports
off
that
my
Apple
first
is
risk here
hunting
into our
for AI
lows.
chip acquisitions.
See if we can flip it, or if this will still hold. Secondary targets would be 580. If we can flip our 640 here.
So the information adds that Apple's in-house M2 Ultra chips have not proven sufficient for running advanced AI workloads, forcing a reliance on NVIDIA. The information notes that Apple has talked with bankers about possible deals when it comes to AI chip acquisitions.
They're trying to absorb here into 690, 700 for a lower high. See if they do it, or if we'll pop back up to this this pivot.
So Apple has approached chip startups to gauge interest. The article by the information is now on the feed for those interested regarding Apple.
You can see we're in like very different states on both ES and NQ, where we've got this absorption from last week that we're continuing to maintain here at this 600, 605, very important still. And we're still just kind of like holding between this
Israel's
absorption
Hayom
low
News says that
and
Israel's PM Netanyahu will fly to the US on Sunday and meet with Trump on Monday.
our previous day value
This was
right
reported
now.
by Israeli Channel 12 yesterday that Netanyahu would meet with Trump in Washington on Monday.
Whereas with NQ, we're in a very
Brings us
clear
now
downtrend.
10 minutes away from the Bank of Canada press conference following their rate decision with Bank of Canada's Governor Macklem. We do have a live video for this. It's on the calendar. We'll put it on the feed as well.
This guy won't shut up today, man. So to me, it's just like, what's the easier thing to short? Well, the thing that's in a fucking downtrend, not the one that's in balance, right? So to me, it's like, okay, I'm going to play NQ. It's just using common sense. See if we'll hold our pivot here. No look above means no long on ES. It's just balance in between our two pivots like we talked about. NQ maintaining. In other words, Sing is saying, Benjamin, sit down on your hands. Well, I'm just saying, like, play the pivot. I mean, I've given you your short location for ES. I've just am telling you that it's limited because you're in balance compared to NQ, which is in trend. There's a very clear pivot on ES that you can play around, which is the one that I've highlighted and talked about all day. Same thing with NQ here, right? But one is just in a downtrend, so your probability of it playing out is much higher if you're looking for a continuation. Right now, your trade on ES is just from here to here, right? So it's a range. Whereas with NQ, we have very clear structure that we're playing down towards. Whereas with ES, you're playing within a range. That's all I'm saying. So if you wanted to play something looking for a short continuation, you can play the
The
thing that's
Nasdaq
already setting
100
itself
extends
up for that
declines to
move.
session lows, down 0.5%.
And if you're on ES, you just need to understand that, again, like it's just limited. It just is what it is. It's a range right now. But do you have a pivot to be playing around where you have a short bias? Yeah, right? Like that's exactly what we've set up. Taking off more here on NQ. So we push down into our next target at 580.
The euro pound drops below 0.85. That's the first time since June of 2025.
All right, this is our full moves completed. I'm deleting pathing and moving charts down just so that I can adjust them. This is our next zone of control here on NQ. And this is our bottom of range here on ES from our pivot hold. We'll watch to see how this plays out. I need to see a pretty clear look below, offer, and then we can play this down. If not, then I expect a bid into this rotation, and then at least to pop back up to 56, if not back up here. Let's see what we
So in
do.
5 minutes time now, at 10:45 a.m. Eastern Time, we get the Bank of Canada press conference with their Governor Macklem following the rate decision. A cable extending. Last up, spot 5.2%, its highest since June 15th. The Fed's Chair Walsh says, I have been asking for access to a range of new AI models. Chair Walsh says we see AI impact on demand more quickly than on supply.
I mean, I don't really know about this low. We'll see if we can flip this or if this is going to hold. I don't have a ton of faith.
Fed's Chair Walsh says a one-time change in prices isn't necessarily inflationary.
Russell's still flat. Just watching our reaction here to let us know on NQ if we're going to get that higher low and then rotation back up, or a reoffer and then hold. Just yes into our bottom here. This is the top of our previous value and our half gap. We need to see some pretty aggressive selling to try to hold this if we're gonna keep going down. You'd basically want to see this guy at 608, 604, really try to absorb here on ES if we were going to go down.
So we are shortly expecting the start of the Bank of Canada press conference with Governor Macklem. The live video is on the feed for those interested. Fed's Chair Walsh says whether AI is inflationary or not will be up to the Fed.
I'm watching our look above here on NQ. We're looking to see if we're going to be able to sustain here, and then your stop would be the low of that wick if it's going to hold above 80s. Testing into 80 now. See if we find a bid or if it fails here.
Fed's Chair Walsh says wages have moved up at a reasonable pace. The timing of when wages will move up more from productivity gains is a puzzle.
$604, $608 holding on ES so far. See if they can get some follow through or if they stop themselves here.
Fed's Chair Walsh says the AI price surge is real. I don't want to be dismissive.
Good bid so far on NQ. No follow through yet though.
Fed's Chair Walsh says business capital investment is contributing massively to GDP, and I guess that trend continues.
As we push up into 39 to 56, that's your first risk off if you're playing the look below and fail. Just like we talked about. No change on ES, no ability to push below our ceiling. This is, again, your first risk off on NQ if you're playing our pathing. Secondary targets would be a flip of our 40 to 56 for rotations up to 730, 720. Until then, this is first PT. Boy, how many cough drops I've eaten in the last like 4 days, man. Can't be good for me.
Fed's Chair Walsh says, I think productivity will be structurally disinflationary.
Mm, I don't know if I really have a preference. Probably just like lemon and honey. I like Ricola. I like lemon and honey. Or like heavily menthol. If I like can't, if like my sinuses are completely gone, I like those. Yeah, there's a bunch of them that are really good. Those are dangerous, the creamy ones. I remember having those as a kid. It's just like candy. Mm-hmm.
Bank of Canada's Governor Macklem now says signs that the economy is expanding are clear. And Macklem adds that exports adjusting to US tariffs and growing.
I mean, I've been posting every day. I just don't think anyone knows how to read in this Discord. The plans and the ideas have been very good that I've been posting, even when I was sick.
Bank of Canada's Governor Macklem says higher oil prices are adding to oil and gas investments, and some businesses, like aluminum, are finding new markets. Bank of Canada's Governor Macklem says Q2 is looking pretty solid. We'll be assessing how sustainable the pickup is.
Thanks, Tom. All right, well, while we're waiting here, I'll try to speak without losing my voice. We'll see. We can go over what like this indicator is doing. It's what I've been working on while I've been sick. Just trying to stay busy. But so what this does is it basically is an automated version of auction market theory. So I built it in Python and backtested it on 3 years of data, and it is net positive over the last 3 years in both a it's called the major downtrends and the major uptrends on both NQ and ES. Before the big crashes happened within this bull regime that we're in over the last 3 years. But basically, it's just an automated AMT. So I'm identifying.
Bank of Canada's Governor Macklem says if oil prices do once again rise and feed into inflation, I expect to need consecutive rate hikes to keep inflation under control.
We're identifying key levels.
Canadian dollar saw a bit of strength off the back of that.
So we're identifying key levels and as well as our current value. So we have our overall balance, which is going to be right here. It's our weekly balance. We're in a 10-week balance on the weekly. On the daily, we're in a much tighter balance. We're in like a 2 or 3 week balance on the daily. And so this is our current value on the daily, which is what we're holding right now. It's our ceiling. Our battle line is here.
Macklem does clarify on the last that this is not our base case.
Our battle line is basically our pivot or our floor, right? Like it's going to be the line in which our trend shifts. So this is the area where buyers and sellers are contesting right now. So we have a bull bias as long as we're holding our battle line to the upside. If we start to shift, right, then we'll start to see this rotation back down. But right now we're holding our value area. We're holding the ceiling of our current value. So there's nothing really to do here on ES other than look to see if we're going to sustain and be able to then push above this on the short time frame. Until we can hold below this value structure, fill this gap, and then show that we have weakness below, there's not really a great shorting opportunity to play into this node, right? We're basically just playing this distribution right here. So that's what this is telling us right now, is that we know that we're balanced in between these 2 points. It's what we talked about this morning. And until we can shift below and then rotate below this battle
says,
line,
I would like us to have a leaner and meaner
we're
balance sheet.
balanced right here, right? Until we can either flip above and then rotate up into our 10-week balance high off of the weekly chart. This is our weekly high. Or we continue downwards, right? We get below this battle line, and then we can start going for these lower targets. So it's just auction market theory, but applied at on a daily and weekly scale, and then finding pivots, and then how we play around those pivots. So as you can see, our current state,
Governor Macklem says we are going to take our decisions one at a time.
Our current state is failed breakout above.
Now says the balance sheet should be as small as possible, and we can expand when there's a crisis.
Failed breakout above, back to value. Floor 583, right? So what is it telling us? Well, we're headed back to our value, right? It's exactly what our state says. So everything is posted in our read, and it's telling you exactly what we expect to happen, which is a failed breakout above, a failure to get above our pivot, and a rotation back down to value. Right? That's literally all here. So it's giving you the state, it's giving you the read, it's telling you what to look for based off of where we currently are on our levels. So a hold above, right? A hold below. Where are we headed? It'll tell you your targets. It gives you your idea. This is your look above and fail. We got that set up.
US issues non-proliferation
right?
counterterrorism sanctions, according to the Treasury website. The sanctions include entities in Russia and Iran.
This zone here that we're in is just value. So we either hold and then rotate to our battle line, or we hold and then we rotate back up to our high, right? It's just value. So there's not much to do here other than look for either a rotation to our 83 floor or hold our ceiling and then rotate back up to our level, which is why I haven't really talked about ES a lot today, other than our initial setup, which was this is resistance and there's not much else to do. And we're just going to continue to rotate in between these two participants until then. Because it's just this big ass node, right? There's nothing to do here until we can figure out which side we want to breach on the tail of this node. But all of that's laid out for you. Yesterday, I laid it out for you in that post that I wrote, right? How to use the daily plan? Yeah, sure. We can go over it. The battle line is determined.
Canada's Governor Macklem says the Canadian dollar weakness has not been a major factor in rate decisions.
I mean, I can't go too in depth with a lot of this stuff because I would be giving away a lot of my strategy, but I built out an algorithm that basically weighs the important levels. So I had to basically find every single level and be able to identify the structures that I care about. So DT is downtrend target one, right? Our down target. UT is our up target one, right? FUT is basically our top of our range. We don't expect too much more above that. It's our projected target. And then PBT is our probability. So it's this is the Verminian target. So this is our projected target. So this is based off of our current profile shape, where we're expecting to go based off of our auction. So when we have
Chair Walsh says, I don't have anything for you on whether he's talked to Trump.
This is basically just how do I word this? This is taking our current value and projecting it here to build out a tail as a projection target. So like these are just like areas that we found, and then I've assigned different weightings to them based off of our regime state. So depending on what we're doing and how we're interacting around them.
So that's what we're saying. I don't want to share about conversations with the president.
Each target has a different weighting. So where we open on the day has a different weighting and affects our battle line. So our battle line today is based off of our value from yesterday, right? So you could easily argue that the battle line is here or here, right? Because this is our value. So to me, instead of putting it on the value high from yesterday, it makes a lot more sense to be putting it near the value low, because that's where our actual trend shifts. But basically, most of our battle lines are going to be based off of yesterday's value, because that's what determines what's going to happen today. Are we holding above yesterday's value? Right now, yeah, right, we're contesting it. And so if we're contesting our value high from yesterday and being able to hold it as supportive, then we're still in an uptrend and there's nothing to worry about, right? If we start to fail and hold below yesterday's value, then that's a really good sign that we want to then continue downward. So to me, it makes sense to put weight on yesterday's pivots, right? Yesterday's key levels, and then look to play around those. So we already know that this is our ceiling on the day. So we already know that this is a level of interest that we care about. This is also yesterday's value high, right? And our gap fill. So what we care about is, are we going to rotate through yesterday's value? Are we going to be able to maintain yesterday's value? Or are we going to fail and hold below it for continuation down, right? So it's just the weighting is basically, where did we open and close from yesterday? What does it matter compared to the auction within our laws of auction market theory? Right, what does it mean if we fail to hold the balance high? Where are we likely going to go?
Walsh says, I would keep my head down if Trump tried to influence policy.
Like, that's like rule 1 of auction market theory. It's like, if we fail to sustain above, right, we're going to rotate back through value. We can see that it played out here just yesterday, right? A failure on the look above is a rotation through back down to for a full value rotation. So we expect the same thing to play out here again, which is, if we can't sustain our highs, we would then be going back down to our lows, which is our battle line. So that's why it's a major level for me on ES. Again, like, it makes sense to either put it at your value high from yesterday or your value low. You'll probably see people weigh these differently. But this is all automatic.
Rogers says, federal major projects may be helping confidence.
So right now, again, we're holding our ceiling. This is the ceiling of our current value. We are unable to breach and hold below. So there's nothing to do other than look to see how we're going to be playing around this. And I'm only looking for shorts on a continuation down. Or you can look to try to play a cheeky short right at the ceiling edge on a look in. But understand that it's not a great trade. This is our biggest node in our monthly period. It's the POC for the last 30 days. So it's not a great area to try to be playing around, because we know that this is supportive. I'm only looking for short side on a push below. That's what this is telling me. Unless we're shorting our top edge, right? Which was our failure. And we already had identified that. Right, we've already identified the play on the day, which is balance until we can flip above this or below this. Okay, so that's the state. We can go over to NQ and look at that one. Okay, so for NQ, similar thing. But what's interesting about NQ is we filled gap. So let me turn on my gap stats again. So in our newsletter, or the morning read that I post, I have statistics for how likely a gap is to be filled based off of the ADR on the day, our average daily range, as well as the gap size. And that's what this panel is in the bottom. So it'll tell you, based off of what our average ADR is, what the likelihood of the gap to be filled is. So today we had a 78% chance of at least filling halfway through our gap. Yeah, I did build it out on NQ, and here it is. So full gap had a 66% likelihood based off of the last 73 sessions that had the similar gap that I've been able to backtest on. It tells you the gap, it tells you the prior close, it tells you why we think this is important, what we're looking for, and it then told you when the gap full hit happened.
Walsh says the labor market is in good shape.
So what did we do this morning? What did I do when I got on? I said, there's nothing here until we can push above our look below and fail area here. So we knew that we opened at our battle line, at our ceiling of value, just like, think about what we just did on ES, right? What I just talked about. This is the value that we identified from yesterday.
So Fed's watch on the labour market being in good shape says, I'm not sure if it's the rate cuts that caused that.
What does it mean?
But monetary policy has caused inflation.
What does it mean if we're opening at our battle line and our ceiling? What's the top of our value, right? So if we have no interest at the top of value, where are we headed, boys? What did I just say? If we have no interest at the high of our value, where are we going? Well, if the ceiling has no interest to breach above and hold, we're probably headed down to the floor, right? So this is already labeled for you from yesterday. So we hit into our battle line, we fail. We then do our lower offer at our poor highs and our look back below and fail zone. And then we rotate down to our floor. This is our full value rotation since open.
Fed's chair Walsh says inflation won't be permanent,
which gave you a 78% chance for at least a half fill, giving you PT1, and then we hold the half fill as resistance, and then rotate down to our floor. Then what do? We then find a secondary short here on our pivot below our floor. This then holds as resistance, and we rotate down to our next leg, right? That gave us our secondary play. We then found our look below and hold, which is where I closed shorts and then rotated up and then took longs off here into DT1.
And Fed's chair Walsh says, we'll look at our tools, both balance sheet and interest rate, and see if we need to adjust them to take on inflation.
Right? So I'm just playing structure. And yeah, I mean, that's really it. But it's just understanding that this is our value.
Iran says the US struck Hengam Island around the Hormuz Strait, according to Mir News.
And until we can push above, there isn't upside potential. This is the value that we've been prescribed. Here, let me turn on our VMP so that you can see this a bit better. And I'll turn on yesterday's value as well. So what does it mean if we open outside of value and then we reject yesterday's value high? Where are we headed? Does it make sense now where our levels are based off of?
Fed's Chair Walsh says, I think we'll get task force briefings as early as September.
So
the deliberations of the task forces will be in the public square.
What is our value high here? Well, this is a 30-day profile, so it's a little bit larger. But this is our value high on our 20-day composite. So this battle line is incredibly important. So we open at value high on our 20-day, fail to just show any sort of sustain above.
Says, I'm not happy with any of the inflation measures.
Rotate down through yesterday's structure, hold value low, rotate to value high, reject it. So now we're inside value and we have offside traders above. We're now holding and rotating through yesterday's value. We reject value high and then we rotate down. Right? All of that makes sense now, but I've simplified it into a red zone and a green zone, and it does it for you automatically and tells you exactly what to be looking for and where we're going to go with statistics. I'm doing all of the auction market theory for you. It's all been automated, and all of this is done the day before. It's all based off of yesterday's close. So now I'm in a long continuation trade looking for this look below and fail. We put our stop at this low. We played on the higher low, and I took off my first risk here. And now I'm looking to see if we can sustain above for rotations back up to these highs, or if I'm going to get stopped out. I've taken off 10 of my 15, and now I'm watching to see which way we're going to go from here. Why does it matter if this low fails? Well, this was our single print. This is what SP means, single print. This is why it's a target. You can see that this was where price reacted incredibly fast the other day. Yesterday, you got a big flip into this low, right? and we then got a strong reaction off
Walsh
of
says
this.
the
So
labour
this is
market
our
looks
low
like it's
here.
broadly in balance.
And we're watching to see if we're going to fill this gap or if this is going to sustain, right?
And
So if we
Walsh
hold
says,
below
my view is that
this,
there's no limit to how fast the economy can grow.
I'd be looking for this push down to fill into this target, right? This is POC from that low, is that 497. And then below that would be the full value rotation down to the lows here, right? So that's just telling you our level where we'd be interested. If we flipped this, we'd be going down here to the POC, that's labeled. And then we would be then looking for the rotation down to this low.
Walsh says the inflation part of our mandate looks less good.
And again, so like now when we go into our when we go into our intraday ideas here, and and this is what our ES read says. So you're like, okay, well, what does any of this mean? Why are you yapping?
And Walsh says
actually,
there's a
let me
lot of
pull this
structural
into
change
another
in the labour
window
market.
so I can zoom in. Just 1 second. Let's see if we get this break. This is super important to let us know if we're going to go down to this target at 497. Same thing with ES. Just had it down through our value. We should get a bounce at 591 to let us know, I'd assume. Something like this, and then a retest, and then we would then go. But we'll see. This is POC from yesterday.
Bank of Canada's Governor Macklem says, I would not want to respond to a spike in inflation caused by rising oil prices that then came down.
So you're getting your bounce at POC from yesterday. Again, the key here is, are we going to be able to hold these previous lows and hold our ceiling as resistance here if we're going to go down to our battle line and our floor at 83s? That's the key now, is does this hold as resistance off of a bounce at POC? If it does, we'll then be looking for a rotation through value. Again, this isn't a great area to long or short. It's just value, right? It's our big ass node. We need to either look below or look above and show a clear interest from this area. But understand that that's where I'd be looking for us to head. And like this leads to that rotation. So let's see what they do here. NQ is able to hold our lows, no change. Again, just our target here. Just rotations right now while we wait for this to figure it out. Okay, sorry. Now let me go back to what we were talking about. Okay, so, oops. So this is what we now are able to post in the morning automatically based off of reading the price action that gets automated into our algo that then creates these for us. So it analyzes based off of the live data that I give it on each close. So this is what we printed. It said a failed breakout up back inside value, poked 610 above the ceiling, then returned. By law, a failed breakout returns to value and traverses towards the floor, 7583. So that is the first line on this. What are we doing right now? The first line, the first thing that you just need to read is literally just the auction state of what I expected on today. What are we doing based off of what I posted last night?
Bank of Canada's Senior Deputy Governor Rogers says that housing affordability problem is dampening the effects that a rate decrease might otherwise have.
Failed break above, rotation, push down to target, right? This is the auction state right now. This is your overall, what you're expecting and what we're looking for. This is the edge prices contesting right now, right? This is what we just talked about. We've given you the floor, the ceiling, the POC, right? So this is the value range where we're currently contesting. This is where we're most likely going to head based off of what's happening in the overall auction. Okay. And then I give you a little read on what's happened in Globex so far. And it's not going to base or change our read because Globex action doesn't matter in the overall scheme of things, right? But I want to give you context, and I've given you context every day so far of what happened so far in Globex around our levels. And then I give you your market structure. We're still one time framing up on the daily. We're in balance on the weekly and a 10-week balance. And on the monthly, we're still one time framing up, right? No change. So our weekly frame, and it gives you your levels of where our extremes are. And it's giving you an understanding of how we're interacting with our, with VIX, right? Our confluence with our volatility. And now we have our decision boundaries, right? So what are we looking for? What does it mean in an auction market theory to find acceptance outside of value? What does it mean if we reject and price returns to value? How do we trade that? Well, here are your plans, right? Accept and hold above, value follows price, bullish continuation, target X, right? Target this place, right? This is our battle line. So if our floor is value, reject. Look below and fail, price returns to value, bullish, target POC 7591, then ceiling 7601. Okay, accept and hold below, value follows price, bearish breakdown, target 57775. So what are we looking for here at this level? Well, this is our plan to let us know what we're going to do, right? At this area, what are we going to do? Well, here are our two plans at our level of interest, where we're going to go. So if we reject and hold below, then we're going to be targeting 7577. So again, the first line of this was what's going to happen in the morning, right? Our auction state. Our auction state was telling us that we're most likely going to revert back down to our value off of a failed breakout on the higher time frame. That is what's currently going on off of our failure here, our look above and failure, our rotation through, our known value right now, our hold of our ceiling like we just talked about. We're now rotating through. If this fails, we're then going to be looking for this rotation back down into our lows. This is target 1. This is target 2.
Fed's Chair Walsh mentioned that we may have seen the problem in 2021 if we'd watched money supply. So he was referring to the M2 measure that was in the Fed report. And Bank of Canada's Governor Macklem has ended the press conference.
So it's just giving you a understanding of our auction state and our key levels. So hold our battle line. These are your key levels to look above. Lose our battle line. These are your clear levels on the look below, right? And then everything is labeled with what it is. HV, high volume edge, developing value low, single print, high volume node, high volume node, high volume node, high volume node, single print, low volume node, right? Measured move. That's your future target, right? Like that's the no, this is the new high. So there's nothing there. So we create a probability based target based off of a measured move. And then we have our gap scenarios. So what happens if Globex gaps the open beyond value? Well, it gives you the standard ADR of what you're looking for. And then on the day, it then gives you, in our gap stats panel, it gives you what the actual ADR is. So that'll then tell you if our gap is small, the percentage probability of it being filled. So if it's less than 11
US
points,
Trade Representative Greer is going to testify at the Senate panel hearing on July 22nd.
Well, if it's an 11-point gap, it has a 91% chance of being filled. If it's larger than 25, right, it then gives you your percentage. This is just based off of ES. The same thing's on NQ as well. But it'll basically tell you, sorry, I've got gap stats turned off on ES. It'll tell you your ADR in the day once we actually open based off of that. And then I've given you the probabilities based off of the previous action. And then it tells you the likelihood of it getting filled, getting it half filled, right? And then on the upside, it has a much higher likelihood to get filled off upside gaps compared to downside, but they're still probable, right? So we have a pretty gigantic ES ADR gap. So we don't have a ton of history on that from what I have, but any value gap has a 54% to be fully filled. A half gap has a 71% chance to be filled. So we got our half gap fill, 71% chance to get the half fill from this morning off of our failure to our highs. That's what this told you. So that's in there as well, based off of where we open and how we're looking to perform. And then you have your overall playbook of looking for a responsive buyer. Ignore your first targets a lot of the times because they're going to be very close. These look fine, but we're looking for 2R based off of our stop. So this is your playbook. This is the failure at our major balance edges. We're looking for a look below, a higher low, and then a continuation above our pivot. So if we have a pivot like this, we look below, we are then looking to play off of this as our risk. This is our entry, and then we're looking for 2R. This over 3 years has a 2 to 1 profit factor. This is profitable over 3 years of data based off of backtesting. The entire plan is laid out for you. Same thing on NQ. I don't think I posted the NQ plan in chat because it's still in testing, but this is what the NQ one looked like yesterday. NQ morning read. We can look at this now. I'll move this over.
Financial Times reports that a Shabana Mahmood is set to be named as UK Chancellor by Andy Burnham.
Okay, so our NQ plan on the day. Battle line 29956. That's our high of day. Right? Inability to push above our battle line.
Anthropic is said to plan IPO investor meetings in the coming weeks.
The edge price is contesting now. So this is our ceiling currently. So if we fail to break above, then we are going to go down, right? And then it gives you your floor as your first target. You have your mid target, and it's telling you that if this fails to push above, we will rotate back through our known value, right? Again, this is our known value. This is what that box represents, our floor to our ceiling. So when our ceiling is our battle line, when they share a level, right, it's telling us that failure to breach outside of our value is going to let you know that you're going to traverse then through value. And then if we hold that low, then we're going to rotate down. So NQ is a bit more mixed. Our daily, we're starting our trend down before ES. ES is a bit more flat. We're still balanced 10-week, same with ES. NQ is still, and we're still one-time framing up on the monthly. Those things haven't changed. Our auction state is a bit different on ES, or sorry, on NQ. We had a failed breakdown back inside value, poked 29393 below the floor, then returned. By law, price returns to value. The ceiling is the next test. So what does this tell you in our auction state on our first line? Did this give you the entire plan as well of what we were looking for at open? Where did it tell us we were going to go and what our next test was? This was our battle line, right? Because of where we failed. We failed to breach out. We then rotated up, back up to our highs based off of yesterday. We knew this was going to be our point of contention. We fail to look above, right? We fail to establish above on open. We then rotate back through. That is what this just told you. So what is this telling us about our decision boundaries? Accept through value follows price, reject, price returns to value. So if our value ceiling here is at 956, which is our open, accept
ECB's
and hold
Mulan
above,
says the ECB needs to be ready for any eventuality on inflation.
gives you your next target, right? Rejection equals look above and fail, back into value, rotate to POC at 864. Wow. I wonder what we did. Right? That's our first rotation. So everything is laid out. And then again, it's the same thing. We get our pivots above and our pivots below, and everything is labeled as a key level and weighted. And then you get the same data. I have much more data on NQ. I have 10 years of NQ gap data. I only have 3 years on ES right now. This will get better soon once I have a bit more data. But NQ, we have all of our likelihoods of what happens in a downfill, in an upfill, and then based off, again, off of ADR. So we had a huge gap today. And so we then can look at our ADR based off our graph and then see what our likelihood is to actually hit that. And you can see that the probabilities also show up in our display on our indicator itself. Half gap, 78% chance. Full gap, 66% chance. Based off of our ADR. And the N73 is 73 sessions worth of data. So that's the number of sessions in the look back that it has access to. Whereas our actual panel here has much further data that I can look at. So this is based off of my Python data. This is based off of what's on chart. So you have two references. What's happened recently based off of probabilities, right? Off of the last 73 sessions. And this is based off of 10 years of sessions. And then of course your playbook, right? So this will be posted daily and it gives you a plan and it's going to be based off of yesterday's levels. And then you have your weekly read as well. So that's how you read it. It's just auction market theory, but applied automatically. And then once I get these cleaned up a bit, then these indicators will be released as well, and they will post the same levels that are on
avoid
that.
A snowball effect on that.
And then give you plays on the day and tell you what the state is afterwards.
And Mulan says very important to reduce France's deficit.
Okay, that was way too much talking.
ECB's Mulan says France must be credible on deficit reduction strategy.
Something that I'm working on, but I still haven't mastered, is I've incorporated the VMP, but on a 20-day composite. So what's included right now, again, this is still a work in progress, but it actually has a built-in histogram based off of a 20-day composite of the last, instead of a month. So that's what I'm basing a lot of these levels around. So this is what that looks like.
AI firms disappoint investors, capital would dry up.
And it's showing you the HVEs, the high volume edges, the nodes, the LVNs, etc., right? So it's giving you a full understanding of what we're basing our data off of. And this is all visualized within the indicator. And then this is what it's computing off of. So you have a visual representation of this balance.
According to sources, the White
right?
House weighing an additional extension of the Jones Act waivers as renewed Iran conflict stirs price fears.
And what's cool is that if you don't want this full thing on here, you can change it so that it'll only show the nodes and it'll turn off the rest of the profile. So then you have like only your important levels. Right? It'll only show you like the areas of interest of like where our LVNs are, where our HVNs are. Like where should we be expecting price to contest? Where is currently value being found, right?
Iran's Bagai says we currently have no plans for negotiations and are focused on defense.
But this is still a work in progress. There's only so much I can do in TradingView. And
So according to the
I'm pushing the
information,
limits right now.
ASML plans price increases for chip making equipment.
Pushing the limits quite
A
far.
more surge in valuations of AI companies is notable.
And again, ES and NQ are just doing what we talked about, which is just holding our edge of value, right? Still holding our look below and fail on NQ, still holding our ceiling on our ES. We need to get back below, and we need to show this as resistance if we're going to continue down. I'm not interested in playing this rotation here. This is value. I know this is a
War
big
says
node.
earnings broadly are moving up in the last several quarters.
Right now, we have a look below and fail. We have a higher low that's now trying to maintain, and it looks like we want to head up here. That'd be my guess based off of our current action. If this fails, right, we'll be looking for this to rotate down, and then I'll have an idea of what we want to be doing. Look at our node. Oops.
The Fed is looking for broader growth and narrower inflation.
God,
Corporate earnings look to be broadening out.
look at this node edge here. What, bro? Like what? I can't. Okay. This is our battle line, right? This is our big node where we're contesting. What do I need to see us do? I need to show us interest below. I need to see us offer, and then we can look for the rotation down to our edge, right? This is a transition back to a previous auction. Look at our edges here on our nodes. So until we can push below, I have to respect that this is our current value.
We have both the article from the information on the feed for those interested.
Once we can push below, then we can traverse back down to this value. You see on the 15-minute, our shift happened. We're now battling with POC on the day. If we can flip this, then we'll most likely rotate back up to 760 would be my guess on NQ. Watching now to see how we could test. You can see on our 50-minute on ES, we got a failed breakdown below our IB low. It's taken a long here. We're trying to get through that absorption here at that 606. If it can do it, then your target's above our previous day value low and previous day POC. So we'll see what they do.
U.S. Treasury Secretary Bessent says we will continue to target Iran procurement networks.
But again, just a failure below, higher low, failure below.
That's coming from a
low.
post on X from the Treasury Secretary.
We're watching to see if we can build here. And every day that one of those reads gets posted, it then looks back from when I give it new data and it then learns and grades itself based off of the previous day, how we performed based off of it, and then adjusts over each week. It then does a report card on itself, and then we'll make adjustments based off of what it says. So if our targets are off, or if our plays are off, it will then auto grade itself based off of the new data that comes in, and then it'll suggest changes to be made afterwards. So it's going to be a work in progress and a continuously changing thing that updates based off of how it performed the previous day and the previous week.
TSMC has begun to push back on ASML's pricing plan, according to the information. Tasnim News citing Iran, saying that there's no plans for US talks. The focus is on defense. Brent oil down more than $1 per barrel, shrugging off renewed US-Iran fights and US oil draw.
What a mixed market with Russell flat, NQ lead down, ES diverge, but now kind of following, but still NQ very clearly below value, right? Whereas ES is testing value. We probably have one more leg down would be my assumption, until we won't know where we're headed until I think ES is down here at our floor, like our plan suggests. I don't know how we're going to get there, though, as we approach midday. Do we need to come back up here first? That's the question, because we're still holding yesterday's value edge. So there's not much to do until we either show that interest or flip below. I just don't know yet. We'll see. But I'm assuming that we'll probably have to come down and test this just like we did on NQ, right? Like look at what NQ did yesterday, where we are comparatively. Do you see what I mean by a divergence? We opened above value yesterday, just like ES, but then immediately traversed through it and then pushed below the lows on NQ. Whereas ES is still maintaining the highs. So if ES is lagging, then ES still has one more leg down at least to retest these lows. If it's following a similar pattern. So we're just going to watch to see what NQ wants to do here at our look below and fail. Do we continue to maintain this higher low? Or can we actually flip this and make it a resistance to start traversing into our monthly value low down here? Right now, the play is just buy the higher low on any look back up and then play it into DT1, right? Like that's been what we've been doing now for quite a bit since the short close. It's just playing this look below, fail, and then the bid back up, and then the rotation to this target. There's no continuation trade until we can show interest above, and then it would just be to this. Until then, right, it's just balance while we wait for ES to make a decision. Yeah, I mean, RTY is just holding our 30-second opening range in VWAP. There's nothing to do until ES decides if it wants to give up yesterday's value high or continue to maintain it. Can't really be bearish until we get back into that and then rotate.
So US Central Command on X doing a claim and truth post, saying that the claim is that Iranian state media claims that US forces struck a civilian wheat storage facility in Hoveyeze on July 14th. CENTCOM saying that this is false. They do say that US forces hit Iranian military targets in Bandar Abbas, Hormuz, Avaz, Qesem, Tanb, and Bushehr and Kurtistak to degrade Iran's capability to attack commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. Fitzgerald Walsh says if there were a disappointment on what AI could do, much of the AI-related capex investment still have alternative uses. In the EU are to hold the Russia oil price cap at its current level until July 23rd.
Balance is persisting, no change. Failure to get back above POC. Failure to show interest above our absorption here at 606 on ES. We are just break even here. 15-minute setup is still holding as resistance. These buyers are a bit trapped above. Just back to entry here off of the failed look below. So we need to show a very clear shift and hold above for that push. Until then, right, we're just in this right now. And again, for NQ, it's very simple. our range.
So in 10 minutes time now at the top of the hour, we are expecting comments from ECB Governing Council member Nagel, who gives a speech on the euro in Stuttgart, Germany. Fed's Chair Walsh says we can see data centers' effect on the demand side of the economy. Google is going to allow third-party stores in its App Store next week. Axios reporter on X saying that a senior White House official told me that at this stage there is still no meeting with Netanyahu on the president's schedule for next week. Says we'll see what happens. So this is following earlier reports that Israel's PM Netanyahu would be meeting with Trump at the White House on Monday. We heard this yesterday, and another report from a separate Israeli news source today as well. But an Axios reporter on X just saying that there is no meeting with Netanyahu on Trump's schedule for next week. Tasnim report that explosions have been heard in Kuwait.
Yes, holding our value edge so far, as well as our ceiling. Just pushing down to POC. NQ holding daily POC is resistance, pushing below. We'll watch to see if this looks below again, and then looks back above, and then rotates back up to target, trapping liquidity down here, or if this will actually be a shift and be something different. Should find out relatively soon. This is our value low on the day. This is our daily POC here. This is our upside target on recovery. We need trapped liquidity below to then get this bid to then rotate here. That is the sequence. Failure to establish above and a push below, right, will lead to a continuation down instead. Again, remember, ES target is still down here. We need to very clearly get above our ceiling, show interest, or I still think we traverse down here to target, down at 83. We are currently holding value low on the day as resistance, and just traversing through our value right now. We are at the mid of our value. I don't know what happens until we either push below this or rotate above and hold. Testing lows on NQ. I'm gonna dip out here soon because I'm really losing my voice now. Clearly not 100% well yet. Keeping our eye on this low. I personally have nothing until I see what DS does. I've already taken my shorts on the day for NQ. To me, this is just like very potential for reactions to go back up, so I'm good on that.
SpaceX shares fall below its IPO price of $135 for the first time.
Pushing into ES target now at NQ target. This is our value floor on ES at our 83. What's going on?
Fars News citing media sources, which are reporting loud explosions heard in Bubiyan Island and the Virginia military camp in Kuwait. These locations are home to US military personnel.
Immediate bid off of our 83s to the tick. That is your full ES read pathing. Battle line 83s holding. Watching our retest now.
And Fed Chairman Walsh concludes his testimony in the Senate hearing. And before we finished, Walsh said that investors should figure out what's happening in the economy.
Investors should. It is insane how different the desktop version is compared to the cloud version in browser. Like the amount of resources that Tradeify uses on desktop is just nuts. But then it works flawlessly and like instantly in cloud on browser. Makes no sense. What's up, Magic? Yeah, still pretty sick, Czar. But well enough to at least get on voice for a little bit today. Layouts custom. It's a auction market, auto auction market, zones, leveling, state, everything. Just creates our setups, tells you what to do. It's insane how divergent NQ is. About to take our Asia low on ES.
Fars news report that several Iraqi sources are reporting multiple explosions have occurred in Erbil, Iraq. The pound hits $1.35, a high since late May.
All right, boys, this is our test. At our battle line now on ES. This is our low of our value. Really important to see what we do here. RTY starting to lead down. We're watching to see if we hold this for rotations down to our 770. Need to see a pretty clear hold here on opens. This is our value edge here on our daily on NQ. These reoffers need to be incredibly strong. You can see absorption up into these highs on NQ. We're watching to see if we can hold this value low now. And if that can then lead to a continuation down, if we can see sell side step in here. Need to see some pretty prominent selling if we're going to do this. Not seeing it yet. I think we'll get it on our Russell retest here at 84 to 86 on RTY. Please stop streaming and rest. No, I will end soon. I'm okay. It's really just my voice. I had a really bad fever before. But I am, now it's just all this mucus. But I'm gonna go take a fat nap after this. They're trying to absorb into 82s right now on ES. Makes sense. Need to see them sweep below 80. We're just gonna be trapped in this 2-point range for right now while we wait. Thousand contracts have been taken in into 82s. $1,200 contracts now. Jeez. This is first target on NQ into our monthly value low at 450. Next target for me is down at 388 on NQ, following our pathing. ES, just following our playbook off of the flip of our 83s with an absorption at 82. I'm going to take off my first risk here and then just look for 570. And then 562. We'll watch our edge here at our 450 on retest. See if we hold. I'd want to see, ideally like this, hold for a continuation down to here if we were going to do it. Just watch as we absorb in. It's a big level on NQ. Again, just took off first risk on NQ there into our 450. Just in runners now on that one. Took off some ES as well off our flip of our 83. And just watch our retest. There's so much size being taken into this 80-82 above. Russell getting a little bounce, which is causing this little upside. Like 760 contracts taken at that low at 74. We took our first exit on ES. Just watching our absorption here on NQ, like we talked about, into our POC, a previous candle as well on ES. See if we get some follow through here on retest of low. We want to see him sweep. Don't really want it to be too passive down here. If you didn't take off in your first test, it's not a bad position to take. And we'll look to see if they can flip this aggressively. Later, man. I'm just in my runners now at 81 average, 84 stop I've taken off most of my size on ES. Just in this now. Just playing off of that pivot. I don't know how long we're gonna have to sit here, but either I get stopped or we'll go to next target. I don't care. I'm done. I'm like, my voice is
So for the
completely gone.
indexes, S&P 500 down 0.2%, the Nasdaq 100 down 0.1%, the Dow down 0.1% as well.
And just watch our battle line, see if we can get back in, or if this continues to hold as resistance. Not a ton of to do here until Russell loses momentum again. Again, just massive size being taken in into 82s. And just waiting for Russell to lose momentum. Might be have to come back up to day open. I'm not sure. See what they do here. Did you guys see how much Alpha Traders was paying Ninja Trader to use Tradeify prop? Actually insane how much they were paying. Check this shit out. Look at their monthly payments to Ninja Trader. This is a prop firm just to use Ninja Trader as their platform. Oops. These were their monthly payments to Ninja Trader to use Tradeify prop. I mess up this profile so badly? Retested our average at our 81.82. Immediately sold, put in a new low. See if we get anything more. Everything's still in play. Same thing on our NQ chart. Just in runners now, following our plan. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how long it's going to take to get down there. We're very slow. They're absorbing, but we're still in downtrend. Russell got another little bid. As long as that's continuing to make lower highs, just look for a lost momentum again, then it should continue. No change. I'll be right back. I'm going to grab water.
Trump posting on Truth Social saying one of the biggest driving forces in the future for jobs are data centers. So Trump is criticizing the New York State decision on data centers, saying they've made a terrible decision.
What's the win condition for data centers? I'm confused. Is it just the making them that creates jobs? Because surely, like, that's it, right? It's just like building it. And then they take all the jobs once they're built, right? on a candle. Hello? See if 500 bids. This will be a really important test. Same thing with this 83. We're retesting this absorption here on ES. If we can flip this, this will be huge. If it fails and we don't see any sort of follow through on this squeeze, it'll just fully retrace. We want to see a very clear high or low here. Watching this 80-82, see if we can push. That was Russell right into VWAP as resistance and then rejection. Is 450, 460 is where you'd want to see it on NQ, and then you want to see it lift over our 500, and that can lead up to that. But if it fails, right, then this will just be trapped. You have a big buyer from 80-82 who's trying here. Just what was our absorption is now trying to be defended. So you're watching to see if this look above can now hold, or if this traps and then we offer and then make a new low off of it. Bid maintaining so far, 80-82. Oh. Appreciate it, man.
So keep in mind, in 10 minutes' time now, at the top of the hour, Fed Governor Cook speaks at the Exchequer Club luncheon on the economic outlook. The text is expected, as well as a Q&A.
This is 500 on NQ. It's got a flip. And then you can retest the wick high. I'm taking off my first risk from 80-82 on ES to cover my stop out. And now I'm break even on this trade while we wait to see what we do. Hey, Allie. Again, I just covered my stop out on my runners there, just by buying the bid at that 80.82, and then just playing it up to where I got stopped out at 88. And now just in
Politico
runners
reporting
to
that
see if we're
senators
gonna
are
get
to meet with
anything.
Trump on the crypto bill on Thursday.
I'm not sure. Oh boy. Was there even news on that spike, or is that just the trap from the low? It looks like it was just the trap. Yeah, that was a little bit ago though. But that was the low. You're right.
In 5 minutes' time now, at the top of the hour, Fed Governor Cook speaks at the Exchequer Club luncheon on the economic outlook. Text is expected, as well as a Q&A.
It's definitely setting up for one. I'd like to see what happens on the next candle. But I don't think you're wrong. I've got a lot of potential here with these guys being trapped into this high. If we can maintain it. You just need to see that secondary sweep step through. And at least move it back to the 460. Or whatever this value low is. 63. That makes sense. We watch to see if ES can flip. That's going to be the important key. So you're an afternoon trader now? I mean, I don't think Asia is a bad session to trade. Like Asia Open is pretty good.
Seeing a text release from Fed's Cook says it's prudent to wait a bit of time for inflation to slow, but I'm prepared to act if it does not occur soon. Cook says since last summer, there has been a notable shift in risk toward high inflation and away from the job market, which appears stable. Cook says there is reason to think that disinflation will occur, but I see risks also that price pressures will persist due to tariffs, Middle East conflict, and AI investment. Fed's Cook says inflation expectations are anchored, but that depends on appropriate monetary policy. The Fed can't take its eye off the ball. The early text release again from Fed's Cook, who's due to be having text released at the top of the hour.
We tagged PT there into our 63 low off of value on ES and on NQ. No follow through below. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to take out highs here or not. I have no clue. They're trying to take in size at 500s. The Newswick.
So now text being released by the Fed, or Fed's Cook's speech.
Not for me.
Just some added tidbits then. Fed's Cook says AI build out and supply shocks are driving inflation risks.
Are you on NQ or ES? I don't see anything on. I'm just going off of my my ES read here, which is this guy is still in play. This buyer here is still holding. We'll probably just come up into the sell. For NQ, similar kind of structure. Show that right now.
We have posted our Fed's Cook speech on the feed for you to read through.
Yeah, there's big selling up here. Our buyer was here. So we just came down into that 63 again. Just a bid back. Just coming to tag this this wick high. I don't know what happens after the wick
Fars
high.
News say they destroy American drone Lucas in Bandar Abbas.
That'd be my risk off until we show interest above. As you can see, I took off into the wick high. We'll wait for ES to do the same. You'll have a really nice longing opportunity once we flip
So
back
from
over
Fars
this.
News and also Tasnim, they say that the US Lucas drone was shot down by an Iranian missile defense system in Bandar Abbas just a few hours ago.
You would need to see a very clear look above this and then hold for something like this, and then we could do that. I'm gonna head out before I stay too long. I'm really losing my voice. I just wanted to get on, show you what I've been working on, take a couple trades, but I'm afraid that if I talk any longer, that I won't be able to come on tomorrow because I'm gonna have no voice at all. So I'm gonna go rest. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. I'll post the read for ES and NQ once the session closes tonight. Sorry I'm so sick, guys. I don't know what to tell you. It sucks, but it is what it is. All right. Peace.